Good day and welcome to the Key Energies Investor Conference for the 6 months of 2025 financial results. I'm Simona from Nasdaq Vilnius and I'll have the pleasure of moderating today's session. Thank you for taking time to join us today, and we are sorry for some delay at the beginning. But over the next hour, maximum hour, we will provide you with comprehensive insight into Key Energies' financial performance and unaudited results for the first half of this year. Before we begin, a few quick notes. This session is being recorded and will be made available on the Nasdaq Baltic YouTube channel shortly after we conclude. We encourage you to submit your questions using the Q&A function located at the bottom of your screen throughout the presentation. We'll address these during our dedicated Q&A session following the presentation. I'm delighted to introduce today's presenter, Tomas Tumėnas, Chief Financial Officer, who will walk you through the company's performance and answer your questions. Without further delay, I'll turn the floor over to you, Tomas. Please proceed.
Thank you, Simona. Hello to everyone. Good morning. As Simona said, I also apologize for technical some disturbances issues. Fortunately, I have not been able to make it the full presentation in the full presentation mode, but tried as much as I could. Something wrong maybe with my skills, IT or computer, but nevertheless, I hope you see the information, and of course. I will give my presentation about the first half results of KN Energies, and definitely you are very welcome to ask the questions. I will be very happy to answer those. So let's start. As you know, or maybe following our company, so we have once per year, once per half a year, our presentations. And we already finished 6 months results, and I would like to make some big points what happens during this half of the year. Also, I would like to give some insights for the future for the second half of the year of the development. So in overall, as you see, I would resume that our results for the 6 months are really good, really in terms of the profitability and the revenue growth. Especially the growth in the revenue was the key contributor on overall financial performance. If we compare to the last year, and internally within the company, we comparing our results, our achievements with the budget, because the budget for us is very important. Of course, the budget is important in all companies, but let's say in energy companies especially, it's very, very crucial one. And here we are not giving by the logical things the budget figures, but we are also would like to say point out that we are above the budget that we have. But since we're comparing to the last year, so we see that our revenues is very quite impressive growth, 20% in regulated business, which still accounts to 60% of the revenues. It's very big achievement. The EBITDA growth is around 25% versus the last year. And accordingly, all other KPIs, net profit and adjusted net profit also is growing. Adjusted net profit, I would like to comment and remind that usually previous, let's see, the close of the last year, we had a big effect of forex fluctuation because of our liabilities and assets towards the lease liabilities of the FSRU and the loan that we're supposed to have. So the fluctuations in the currency exchange dollar versus euro was quite substantial. Therefore, the company has been presented adjusted net profit figure or KPI or metric right now, since we acquired the vessel at the end of the last year in December. So we don't have that fluctuation anymore. But still, for the comparison logic, we are keeping that KPI, and after the closing this financial year, we will remove it because it doesn't make sense to have it anymore. If we take, I just also wanted to point out in the slide that you see the strong our ROCAV figure. Just to understand for you, the industry average is here we are presenting half-year ROCAV figure. If we take annualized one, it will be high around 5%, and the industry average is around 3%. It's in the ROCAV. And the share price movement, if we take market figures, as you see, the company's shares grow during the first 6 months of this year by almost 18.5%. And we outperform the overall growth of the Baltic Stock Exchange indexes and reached the capitalization of almost 110 million euros. And also we are very happy about that, especially taking into account again that, knowing our structure, shareholder structure, where 72% is controlled by the state and the 10% by HEMA, meaning 82% of the shares, I would say, yes, are totally liquid. So we have very small free float. And again, still our activities really heavily depending on the regulated business, which accounts to almost 60% of the revenues and around 55% of the EBITDA and profitability. So the share price growth is really, I would say, quite good. I would not say maybe impressive, but really good achievement. And really, we are happy regarding this and hope that share price will grow further on, maybe not at that high pace, but it will experience growth in the second half of the year. Going further, I would like to highlight key achievements, what happened, key milestones. So one thing was that the company successfully managed to sign a long-term agreement or prolong existing one with our major client, Orlen Group, which accounts to almost 65% of all revenues and liquid energy business segment. We prolonged that for the next 3 years with better financial results, which we had previously. So it was really lengthy and important discussions with the company, Orlen, meaning with our partners. And it's very, very important for the securing a long-term stability in cash flows and revenues that generates a liquid energy business segment, which up to now is the second in terms of the revenues and second in terms of the contributing of the EBITDA. So this was really important, and that from one hand gives, I would say, stability and insurance in companies' future business. From the second hand, it also allows us to make proper investments in the line with our let's say, goals or plans of our main client, Orlen, which in turn has its own investment, big plans and projects and all big renovations they're doing within their facilities by switching heavily more on various additional or new or biofuels. Accordingly, we are also reinvesting and renovating our facilities just to comply with the requirements of the main client. So this is very important also, as well from our capex perspective, from our investment perspective into liquid energy terminal. Secondly, we're very happy that it's not contributing like additional profit or something, but we are very happy that historically we already reached 500 ship-to-ship LNG operation benchmark. Since KN Energy launched FSRU activities in 2014, so it's a very big milestone, and we are very happy about that. On top, quite important achievement was that we starting to implement and secure it. Let's say the project of gasification of LNG terminal. I'm sorry, not gasification, electrification of electricity supplied into FSRU. And this is important in that sense that the company has ability to switch as much as it could to green energy solutions. And that electrification project will allow us to increase consumption of electricity, green electricity, which is consumed by FSRU versus the gas. So that it's very important also from sustainability point of view to have as much less CO2 emissions as we can. So that project has been finalized, confirmed by the team and by the management board, and we are in the process of implementing that project at the moment. Going further, also very important things has been achieved in the area of new energy. New energy business segment still is under the global energy business segment, but we hope that in the next couple of years that new energy business segment will be we will report as a separate one business segment when it will increase its financial viability and revenues. So in that business segment, new energy business segment, we are very focused on implementing various investment projects that is at early, let's say, development stage, and should be launched in terms of successful implementation after the next 3-4 years. But up to now, we're very concentrated on, as we calling CCS project. Here in CCS project, we have an agreement, and it was announced by a stock exchange with the main business partners, where KN is a leading role. In our partnership are companies, cement producing companies in Akmenė and in Latvia, Brocēni, as well as logistic companies which are involved in carrying carbon capture via vessels. So we have a strong consortium, and as I said, KN is leading in a leading role in development that investment project, and we got subsidy for our first, let's say, stage of investigation and feasibility studies, and that give us a more solid background, I would say, in terms both of financing those investments and in terms of the solidity of proving the financial viability of CCS project. Secondly, we had a visit with the Minister of Energy a couple months ago in Vietnam, and we signed an agreement, or extended actually the agreement with one of the biggest South Korean energy in a broader sense company, which is one of the biggest player in Vietnam market as key innovation. And we had previously good connections with them, so they are for us very important partner in looking for or exploring the investment and business opportunities in terms of offshore LNG business in Vietnam market. Vietnam market is a growing market. It's one of the growing markets in the world. Actually, one of the biggest growing market in the world in terms of offshore LNG, let's say, business. And KN Energy is trying to put its step into those markets. It's of course not easy to do and not very quickly entrance. And having the partner side is very important for us. To share experience, to share information in what is happening in the Europe, what is happening in Vietnam, and South Korean consortium also is looking and screening the European market, and we also planning, to assist them in their investments plans in here in our home market in Europe, and like to have very good, friendly, and business-oriented relationship. And as I said, with Orlen example, we are investing into the biofuels, into methanol, into the new products that we are planning to serve within the next 1 year, as Orlen is introducing those products in their product portfolio. And the growth of, let's say, green products or biofuels, various types of biofuels, including as well biofuels for the big vessels, biofuels for the airplane industry, the demand for those products are growing, and Orlen is orienting the business towards that direction as well. And we as a CAN also investing in those facilities. So these were the big milestones that the company during the first half of the year achieved. Then, secondly, I would like to give some market overview what is happening in LNG business and in liquid energy business. So let's start from the key maybe metrics that we are really watching a lot within the company. So of course for us was used to very important fluctuation of the currency exchange, and since we successfully executed transactions last year, that we don't have big impact at the moment, but still we exposed maybe not to dollar but to the Brazil real, having our daughter company over there, and also executing hedges regarding the Brazil and versus dollar exchange rate. Gas, if we take the gas prices has been fluctuated since the first half of the year. And I would say that at the beginning of the year, those were quite high on the quite high level, and the gas prices has a direct effect in our performance, because we use our gas for internal consumption, for FSRU, for LNG and terminal. So total gas accounts for almost 2% of total cost of goods sold within the company, but still anyway it's important. And also the gas prices obviously has a total direct impact on the consumption, on the consumers behavior, on the consumers and industry decisions, how much they would like to be keen on in consuming the gas in their business operations. And definitely the price has a very direct effect. So it was fluctuating. As you see, the price was quite high at the beginning of the year, and steadily it went down, and right now they're trading TTF around 33 euros. And I would say that this is like a normal, in my opinion, normal gas price, meaning that at the moment, despite of various changes or effects that happening in the world market, in energy world market, in oil, in gas, in gas supply, in gas consumption, the level is, I would say, on the normal. Let's put on the normal level, meaning that industries could, accommodate to those prices. And of course, for the industry, for the consumers, it's very important that the prices would be more stable rather more fluctuating. What it will be in the next half of the year, nobody could say, but taking into account the overall situation, the supply situation, the storage facilities and storage amount of the gas, especially in Europe, I would expect if nothing would happen dramatically, artificial measures would be launched. The price could slightly increase from the current level, but maybe not to reach 60 or 58 euros of TTF for the second half of the year. And the another very important macro indicator metric is carbon dioxide emission allowances, because those for us it's heavily, let's say, quite heavily impacts the variable costs, as we have around per year approximately we need to purchase 75,000 certificates, and those costs accounts for 9% roughly of total cost of goods sold. In our case, in our cost structure, around 9% are carbon capture certificate prices, and also those prices fluctuates, and there is no, let's say, strong link to one another, benchmark how to track it and how to to predict. But basically, I would say there is some relationship with the gas prices, maybe with some big lag, but still exist. And as you see, the fluctuation, €5 fluctuation is quite big if you're taking the quantities, how much you need. And what CAN in that respect is doing, CAN has an agreements with the financial partner regarding the hedging. And we had quite big and strong, I would say, and good contract regarding the hedging facilities. Ken has free, let's say, reserve, free hedging buffer from the bank. And this is one thing. We are not allocating any money for our margin calls. This is very important, taking into account, of course, our strong balance sheet, meaning so we don't have a margin calls, not allocating capital for those. And also in terms of the timing, we agreed to have, I do not know if there is any other companies, but we have a term contracts with our hedging in ETF in carbon capture hedging contracts lasting to 36 months. So actually it's very long. It's almost 3 years contract. So we can go into the hedge for that long period. And it's really important and a very big achievement for managing our carbon emission prices, because we are watching the market situation, watching the historical trends, and watching the let's say the price that regulator gives to us. So meaning for us it's very big benchmark how much the price we have given by the regulator, and our aim is to try to get as less price in the market versus that we got from regulator prices, because those impacts directly the company's results and of course the end of consumers. Also, I would like to remind that the prices that we're getting from regulator, or the let's say the gas prices, which is for LNG activity, or emission prices for again LNG activities, they're covered by regulator. So let's say from that perspective, maybe you can say for the company, if I may use the word, could not care about that, but this is not true, because we care about our, of course, our level of the cost, and about the prices that we are passing to the consumers. So for us to get as much cheaper prices in the market at the right time, it's very important for both reasons: company performance and performance for the end of consumers, as those costs are compensated by regulator. If we take LNG market overview, some also hits about that, what happening. So if we take our LNG activity, and as you see in our presentation, the total utilization rate of our vessel this year, in the first half of this year, is around 65%. The average, as you see in EU, was 52%, and it's really, I would say, very strong indicator, very strong financial indicator. If we take Lithuania imports LNG via FSRU, and actually all Baltics imports via our FSRU LNG. So as you see, 70% is imported of LNG from United States for obvious reasons, and 24% from Norwegian, and the 7 Trinidad and Tobago. So as currently, and 1 year and 2 and 3 years ago, since the war started in Ukraine, we're keeping our mandate and our view that we are absolutely prohibiting import from Russia and LNG, which unfortunately Europe still has import of LNG from Russia. If we take, if we go further, and the gas market overall, world gas market overviews already I touched upon regarding price fluctuations and our view on this, and actions on this. On top, what I have not mentioned, of course, regarding the gas prices, we're also going into the hedges for the gas prices. And again, watching the market and using hedge facilities with our financial partners. In that respect, for the gas prices and for the EU carbon emission, at the moment, company has already executed all the hedges, and we already covered for this year fully. Some remarks or points regarding again the LNG market itself. So at the moment, at the end of the 6 months, the total gas storage facilities utilization was around 60%. Currently, up to now, is more than around 73%, which is less than we used to have a year ago. actually taking into account the prices of the gas prices and situation in the overall world gas supply, there is no threat, let's say, regarding fulfillment of our country's obligations to have at the beginning of November the gas storage facilities should be filled up to 83%. So it's like obligatory things within EU. And the moment there is no any signs that those achievements has not been, let's say, implemented. So currently we have less utilization rather versus last year, but overall macro situation doesn't show any signs that it is like a pressure tension in that respect. So going to our business segments, finishing the overall market presentation, just understand where we operate. So taking the biggest, our business segment in terms of revenues and profitability, regulated business, LNG business. So the growth of revenues was the highest. If you take this year, last year, first half, so growth within the revenues was the highest, around 37%. And we are happy about that because utilization, as I showed you, is quite high of the FSRU of our Indy, our vessel. And we already, as is mentioned, managed to perform 42 ship-to-ship operations versus 30% of the last year. And also our regasification volumes increased. And also the tonnage that we received and regas during first half also increased. This is good achievements. Another thing that we are not mentioning in our presentation, that as you know, we have let's say in LNG business segment, the total capacities are booked till 2032. And looking at the current situation, daily situation of the market, our consumers, not our clients, let's say our clients, they are have their own plans on vessel delivery, depending on the market situation, on the prices, and sometimes they are revoking some let's say cargoes. And what it means that when you're revoking the cargo, we are not simply having that cargo and not reloading and not making any regas, while we're getting the paid for, meaning take or pay contracts. So it's like revoking is not a problem from financial point of view, but of course from utilization point of view, etc. It's not a very welcome action, but anyway, doesn't have any financial negative impact. So during the first half of the year has been revoked 5 cargoes, and the commercial team managed to place additional 3 new ones, meaning the commercial team went into the market and, let's say, sold the new 3 cargoes. And here we have a positive financial impact because we got, from one hand, take or pay contracts, from another hand we got extra revenues for these new 3 vessels, new 3 cargoes. And also being transparent from that revenues, which goes into regulated activity, we have an agreement with the national regulator that 30% of those revenues will be applicable for the company, meaning that 30% from those additional cargoes is directly in our pocket, and the 70%, the rest of the revenues, is passed on to the end of consumers. So while 1 year ago we don't have that agreement, so meaning this is really as well important step for the company and for for motivating the people and trying to look for as much as possible commercial activities on top of the regulated. Because it's not easy to have regulated assets, regulated things, to have extra something on top, since we already has been booked till 2032. So this is very, very important thing that we managed to achieve per regulator, and that we're managing to get extra cargoes for our LNG regulated activities. On LED, as we're calling on liquid energy market on our second business segment, I would say here the overall situation, in summarizing very briefly, is stable. We don't have any big growth or any decline. We are stable in that respect. As I said already, we had an agreement, a good agreement with Orlen, with also with other smaller clients. So we're stable in those operations. And if we take overlook on the how look like the liquid energy in as from market point of view. So as you see, we have also stable flow of the tonnage of various, let's say, oil products at Klaipėda versus the last year. And we see the growth in Ventspils. So Ventspils recovered comparing year-to-year operations, while the rest, let's say Tallinn and Riga and Liepaja, they are smaller ports. They are, as you see in the slide, they're almost also the same that they used to have last year ago. So overall situation, if we take, as you see, Lithuania is almost doing the same that it used to be half year ago, and Latvia improved. Estonia also is keeping the same path that they had last year. But again, we're showing the year 2022, so just before the war. So you see how is a still big room, let's say, to come back to the level that we have pre-war. Can we succeed? I'm talking not about can or just overall, market for the liquid energy products in whole Baltic states. It's like a hypothetical question. Because definitely when you are losing big flows from Belarus and Russia, it's definitely to have be compensated. It's not easy task, taking into account our geographical situation. But this is the picture, the situation, meaning that we are not declining in terms of the growth or slightly improving. And what it will be in the next years, difficult to guess, but our belief is that moderate growth should prevail in the market for liquid energy products. If we take our share can share is approximately 39, fluctuates from 35 to 39% of all liquid energy in all Baltic ports, which we refer to the, let's say, we're the biggest, of course, the terminal in that respect, and having the market share fluctuating around 35-40%, I think it's very, let's say, this is the market share that can should keep on, and of course try to increase it, but it's very impressive market share. Already I mentioned the business of our liquid energy business segment. So revenues are stable. We are carrying on investments into upgrading our facilities and infrastructure, and also focusing on biofuels, basically on biofuels. Also, we are in the discussions with the Ministry of Defense. As you know, we have an obligation, and we're storing the critical oil reserves within Subačius terminal. So right now we have discussions with Ministry of Defense regarding increasing the quantities, regarding the possibilities to, let's say, store extra quantities for the defense needs or for German army, which will be deployed within the next 3 years here. So we're in the process and the discussions, and when something will be settled down, we will come into the market and make those announcements, because we are thinking, preparing how to support in reality this very critical place or critical area of appropriate reserves, oil reserves, diesel reserves for national security. Very important business segment. The most, let's say, looking forward, important for us and vital business segment is commercial LNG and global LNG. So what happened during this first 6 months of this? business segment, the revenues are almost the same that we had last year ago. It is slight below, but just by 3%. And it was the reason very, let's say, subjective when you are making, let's say, if you're comparing the results first half of this year and the next year. We have in the last year when we got contracts in Germany, usually some part of the contracts have like a bonus scheme. So we got that, let's say, bonus in the last year, which is right now is already in the operational mode. So that bonus excluded, we are even in terms of the revenues. And in Germany, as you know, we're operating commercially 4 out of 5 German LNGT terminals. And in one terminal, we have technical operations. And I would say that in the first half of the year, so operational activities has started with no any accidents, with no any problems. So we are already in operational mode, and this is very important. So already we have actually full staff needed to take care of our responsibilities and obligations towards that Deutschland Energy Terminal state-owned company. So we already settled here. We have the team in place. We have everything is going on. So we are in operational mode, and first carriers already has been executed in Germany, and they are very happy, meaning that Germany is very happy that the state of the Germany that already those operations investments has started to pay back, and first cargos has been shipped via those terminals, and we are part of this. So it's really important achievement, and the meaning that we are in the right track, and hopefully to proceed further without any technical, any other, let's say, negative impacts of operating those terminals. Very important for us as well is that in Brazil, we have our terminal, as you know, and it depends, activities a lot depends on 2 electricity plants run by GNA. And usually we are mainly running on or let's say serving the one electricity plant, and in the first half of the year they launched the second one. And also it's very important because it has many also complexity in that business, as total investment into the GNA in those electricity plants is more than 3 billion euros. So actually they launched the second one electricity plant, meaning using more gas. And for us, it's very important in terms of, again, getting, fulfilling our obligations, getting things done, and getting maybe not very big, but still steady incomes, securing further, development and profitability of Brazil operations. So it's very important. And then regarding the achievements or cooperation agreements with probable expansions in Vietnam market, I already mentioned, so I will just skip it and not spending more time. New energies already has been discussed by me, meaning especially we are active in CCS project, and as I said, we're really happy having consortium in place. Very strong consortium, very, I would say, understanding the business, especially from manufacturing side, from cement producing side, as those industries, cement production industry, fertilizers production industry, chemistry industry in Europe, are facing and will be facing big challenges in terms of carbon emission, as they are heavy consumers. And according to EU plan, of course, today's current one, maybe after a couple of years, could be something different, but it doesn't mean that the toward trend will be, let's say, opposite, meaning that carbon emission or diminishing of the carbon emission would be the ultimate goal of Europe. And maybe the quantities, the sizes could be readjusted, let's say, or reconsider it. This is my personal opinion, of course, but the total trend is in here. What it means that all producers needs to find the solutions, technological solutions for storing, capturing this carbon emissions. And cement is one of the industries and biggest players of European cement industry, Schwenk Group, which operates 2 plants here in Latvia and Lithuania, are within our team, and they are also very, very, very professionally considering and analyzing all those possibilities, because for them it's very important. Just even I would say the vital importance is very big. What it will be, the outcome of the industry itself within the next, let's say, 5 years. So we are very heavy hands-on in that project, and right now we are in the stage of investigating the economical benefits, all this value chain, all the logistics chain. It's not easy, definitely project, and because it's a new for whole Europe, I would say. The first project has been launched in Norway with the carbon capture in the sea, and I don't recall the real figures, but they are big ones. They are not 100 millions; they are much more. And that project has been funded basically by the Norwegian state. And of course, this type of investments are very depending on the subsidies, definitely, because this is a huge amounts should be invested. And we already secured one subsidy program for the feasibility study. Right now, we're finishing it and going into the next stage, where also we are aimed to secure partly the compensation for the feasibility studies. So I would say in CCS project, which comprises the biggest part of our new energy business segment, which currently, from financial point of view, has a loss. No income, obviously, in the development stage, but we are on the right track. We are really on the right track, and don't want to give anything, but I truly believe in success of that project. And watch our, let's say, movie, and we will announce in the next couple years and months of development of that business segment. Sustainability is very important for us because we are emitters and because we care about the nature as well. So the biggest thing we already mentioned with electrification project in our FSRU, and our investments into biofuels and methane programs for more eco-friendly oil products. And we're coming to the summarizing to our financial results and some metrics on our balance sheet. So as you see, the major KPIs, the major financial metrics are growing. Looking forward for the second half of the year, I would say that growth would not be so impressive, should be not very impressive like this one. Obviously, for obvious reasons, because of coming into the autumn and winter period, where definitely some variable inputs are higher versus the, let's say, spring and summer, and also the growing pressure on HR costs, as those accounts for 24% of all costs in our structure. Just again, to remind you, if we take our cost level in the first half, the amount of the total cost is around 37 million euros of KN Group, and the biggest part is depreciation. It's 34%. And depreciation, of course, has a direct effect on net profit or EBIT, but it's not cash item. And our depreciation increased if we take first 6 months of first half of this year versus last year, because we acquired the vessel into our assets and because of our investments that we're going on. So 34% is depreciation, 24% are HR cost, and 9% are carbon emission prices. So this is basically our biggest cost items. So the second half, we would expect to have less growth in those key KPIs, but meaning that annual targets and budget targets, which I can't reveal, we are hoping to be able to overcome. And profitability ratios, I would not touch. They are just, who are interested, you can see the figures and everything. Only we are trying to compare ourselves with the industry average, and from the companies that we can obtain the financial indicators, financial figures, and just summarizing, we are slightly above in all KPIs versus our competitors. Not direct competitors, but the peers. Let's put in this way. And some information on the balance sheet. So if we take a leverage, I would say nothing has changed here since the half of the year. Only maybe if you look at the SR figure, it went down, but it's very obvious because when we acquired the vessel at the end of the last year, that repayment program for that acquisition has started in this year, and it gives us up to 6 million euros additional repayments. Total repayments of the loan per year within KN Group is around 19 million euros. So the SRS should be looking forward at the same level, no less than 2 times. And net EBITDA we have, as you see here, 7 times, but this is, of course, all our loans are secured by the guarantee of the Lithuania. We are only the one company which actually has that guarantee, and from that perspective, they are secured. Taking free cash flow, which is very important, at least for me, for CFO point of view, I am positive really in free cash flows. And as you know, we paid for the last year 8 million euros of dividends, and the payout ratio was quite high, 60%. So it's like 2 things. One thing, it's really good that we are managing to pay so healthy dividends, and dividend yield is around 8%. It is really big one, in my opinion, compared even to the whole Baltic states. But from another hand, we have a very, let's say, ambitious growth plan, investment plan. So obviously, high payout. No, it's not the way that should be when you're paying 60 or 70% in form of the dividends. But nevertheless, it's manageable things, and but mainly my message is that free cash flow is very positive for the company, taking out all of the repayments of the bank, and only capex, let's say, eats our free cash flow. What we are doing at the moment, so we have just some clue. We have investment project according to our strategy, quite extensive, amounting to more than 400 million euros. But if we take the first 3 years, or let's say the year till 2030, which is more obvious, it's around 100 million euro. And some of those investments are oriented for the profit, like biofuels and expansion in the global markets. And of course, the big part as well for maintaining and for renovating the facilities, which directly not contributes to the profit. Especially we should overgo the investment in our jetties and upgrade our jetties, as those has not been renewed or upgraded since 1965. So we will have those investments, and this is in maintenance type of investments, amounting to roughly 40 million euros. So as I said, till 2030, we are planning to have 100 million investments, and right now we are in discussions with the commercial banks. And we're aiming to have an agreement to finance our investments in this fall. And while closing this financial year, maybe we'll have already in our balance sheet some commercial loans. I think this is very normal, logical to have commercial banks helping us in making our investments. freeing our internal funds. Because owners' money is definitely more expensive than the banks, and we have very positive feedback from the banks. They're keen on finance our group, and our aim is to secure our long-term investment projects with the banking financing without any collateral, and with as high as much repayment schedules. Just reminding you, the biggest is, the only loans so far are for FSRU and for the facilities, 340 million euros, and our deadline for repayment is 2044. So for us, it's not, let's say, we are not worrying about amount of, in terms of the numerical figures, the loans. For us, it's important to have as much lengthy repayment schedules with the banks in order to have strong and healthy cash flows, because we are a midstream company, energy midstream company, heavily exposed to the assets, and therefore our return on assets or ROCAR are not 10 or 15%. It's not this type of the industry. So our aim is to have better than industry level ROCAR, maintain up to 5-6% in the long run, and ROE also around 2%. So this is it. This is the rest. It's more soft things. So thank you for listening me, and I'm happy to answer the questions.
Thank you for your insightful presentation, Thomas. Now we indeed will move to a Q&A session. And as a reminder, please submit your questions using the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. And the first question we received in advance, and it is the following. Do you plan to update the strategy, or if the investments are still in line with the old strategy?
Thank you for the question. Briefly answering, once per year we're renewing the strategy. This is our internal, modus of operandi. We're reviewing once per year, and obviously adjusting to the changes or what happening during the year in the market. So this is one thing. Another thing, what has been, let's say, different according to the latest version of the strategy versus original one, actually no big differences. Only one thing we have, like in original strategy, we has been planning 3 years ago, actually already 2.5 years ago, that we will have an investments into lead business segment in inland hub, meaning that maybe we would have inland hub terminal which could reload various oil products and transport via mainly railways. And after investigation of the business environment and situation, we skipped that project. So the value was around 11 million of probable investments at that time. So at the moment we excluded that from our let's say long-term strategy because of no financial feasibility of this project, and the rest are in the line with original strategy.
Thank you very much for your answer. So the next question came during the webinar, and it is the following. How is the CO2 capture project progressing?
No, already I tried to answer and explain. We are in the first stage. Let's say we can grab into a couple stages: first, second, or third. So the first stage is really where feasibility studies are taking place, and the second stage, if feasibility study shows that everything is okay, let's say from economical point of view, and all parties says, okay, let's go explore further on, then is the second stage, more extensive studies and more extensive, let's say, construction things to be elevated, etc. stuff. And then in that second stage, you are also arriving to the let's say to the agreeing on the cost structure, on the pricing, etc. So that we are right now in this first stage, and it's according to the plan. As we already mentioned, we got also the subsidies for this. So we are smoothly going into the second stage. And of course, the second stage would be a very crucial one. It already started and would be finalized in the next year, which will show more, let's say, should answer all, let's say, financial feasibility questions regarding this CCS project. And also in that stage, we need to, our goal is also to secure, or not to secure, to get, to receive the subsidies for that, let's say, project. And this is the part of the task. Being having already the common interest status of that project as CCS, because we represent two countries, Latvia and Lithuania, in terms of the Schwenk operations. So we got that status. I don't recall exactly how its abbreviations in European Union is, but actually we got that status, and this is very important, like a green ticket to get that subsidies. Because all, let's say, all other projects that are taking place in Europe, they are also in the same trend, meaning subsidies for them also is very important. So I would say the first stage is accomplished according to our expectations, and we are in the second stage. But of course, a lot of things should be done.
Thank you very much. And one more. You mentioned having an agreement with the Lithuanian government that allows for additional earnings in the regulated KN energy segment. Could you clarify what level of additional EBITDA from these regulated commercial activities can be expected in the second half of this year?
I would say if in additional EBITDA, so it should be like, just a second. Around up to €500,000. It's our share, let's say 30%. This is our expectations, €500,000.
Okay, thank you very much. And the last one, perhaps you could give some thoughts on your dividend policy in the near term years from 2025 to 2027, given your investment plan.
We have two things. One thing, as a regulated company, as you know, we already announced via stock exchange the Ministry of Energy, which is the biggest shareholder. Let's say the letter which they are, giving to all companies, like a direct letter how they see as the major shareholder, where to go, how much, where to be, and how much to pay in the dividends. So we already that announced. You can see it. It's a one thing, like official wish, and another thing, as correctly you're mentioning, and I said in terms of the growth. And the third thing is our law. Let's say we should obey to the law which exists to all state-owned companies. Meaning the law stipulates very simply. You take the adjusted net profit, divide by equity, and you have the return on equity. And depending how much you have that return on equity, then that particular amount you should pay in the dividend. So at the moment we are under this law. So meaning that we have two ways on the managerial level. How I'm thinking, we are definitely or should stick to this law, and or should try to agree with the major shareholder to have some, let's say, financially stable dividend flow, but not as much as according to the law, in order to secure our investments. And the company is planning to have that agreement because, let's say, for example, FSG Group has another agreement. The rest energy company also have another agreement. It's not like we are desperate on having that agreement, but we would like to have it. So meaning that we would like to have like stable amount of the dividends for the next 3 years, in order, to secure or feel more safe from financial point of view to finance our operations. But nevertheless, I would not say that this is a critical for the company, but this is just for to having, good and prognosable dividend flow. But dividends will be paid, obviously. That's not a question.
That concludes our Q&A session. On behalf of KN Energies and Nasdaq Vilnius, thank you all for joining us today. Special thanks to Tomas for his excellent presentation and thoughtful responses. To our attendees, thank you for your questions and participation. It's been a pleasure having you with us today. The session recording will be available on Nasdaq Baltic YouTube channel shortly. We look forward to connecting with you again in the future investor events. Until then, have a wonderful day, and thank you once again for your time, patience, and attention.
Thank you as well. Goodbye.